Before we begin, let us know where you're watching from. Go ahead, like and subscribe. On a quiet Tuesday morning, Robert Bobby Keene entered Summit Ridge National Bank simply to withdraw funds from an old account. The Korea-Vietnam veteran wore a clean-pressed shirt, his black service cap, and carried discharge papers alongside a brass challenge coin. He waited patiently in line, embodying the quiet dignity of his generation. When he reached the counter, the young teller hesitated at his outdated documents, then called her manager, Caden, who smirked at Bobby's weathered appearance. Caden, a slick-haired manager with a dismissive attitude, examined Bobby's discharge papers and scoffed, suggesting they looked typed on a dinosaur. Bobby remained calm, placing his challenge coin on the counter, a token only true soldiers would recognize. Caden ignored it, mocking Bobby as a wannabe vet, and ordered security to escort him out. The bank lobby fell into uneasy silence as Bobby, without protest, collected his coin and sat on a bench, his posture rigid, his expression unreadable. Among the onlookers was Maya Rodriguez, an Air Force veteran who recognized the significance of Bobby's coin. She confronted Caden, warning him he'd made a grave mistake. Meanwhile, an older bank employee, recalling the name Robert Keene, checked a brass plaque on the wall, dedicated to the military personnel who built Summit Ridge. Command Base. Bobby's name was among them. The employee made a discreet call, uttering only 6 words. "It's Bishop Coin, Summit Ridge. He's here." Outside, Maya called a military contact, who reacted with urgency upon hearing Bobby's name. Meanwhile, Major General Everett Caney, a high-ranking officer, received word and immediately left his briefing, ordering his aide to suit up. To Caney, Bobby wasn't just a veteran, he was a legend, a man whose service shaped modern military doctrine. The fact that he'd been humiliated in a bank built on land he once commanded ignited the general's fury. Back at the bank, tension thickened. Caden, still sneering, muttered that Bobby was likely waiting for pity donations. The teller who had laughed earlier now avoided eye contact. Then, the doors burst open with authority. General Caney strode in, his dress uniform immaculate, his presence silencing the room. Without hesitation, he snapped a salute to Bobby, who returned it with quiet dignity. The bank's patrons froze, realizing the magnitude of their error. Caney's voice cut through the silence as he demanded to know who had called Bobby a fraud. Caden, pale and stammering, tried to explain, but Caney shut him down, detailing Bobby's decorated service: 2 wars, 6 theaters, and 14 unacknowledged operations. He placed a classified folder on the counter, revealing Bobby's role in founding the very bank that now disrespected him. Bobby, unfazed, simply stated he'd only come to withdraw funds for his grandson's education. The general accompanied Bobby to the counter, ensuring his transaction was completed without further issue. As Bobby received his money, the teller whispered an apology, which he ignored, not out of malice, but because he'd long moved past needing validation. When he turned to leave, Caney stopped him, saying, "You've got 5 minutes for the honor you never asked for." Without prompting, every veteran in the bank stood and saluted. Civilians, sensing the gravity of the moment, rose in respect. Bobby, momentarily stunned, returned the salute with quiet precision. Caney then handed him a velvet box containing a medal inscribed with 3 words, "Service Beyond Record." Bobby studied it, nodded, and softly said, "I didn't come here to be remembered. I came to keep a promise." As Bobby stepped into the sunlight, the bank's atmosphere shifted. Later, a new line was added to the building's plaque. Robert J. Keene, Colonel, U.S. Army, Honor and Silence. No grand announcement was made, but the lesson lingered. Those who had laughed now carried the weight of their mistake, and every time someone entered those doors, they saw the name of the man they'd almost dismissed, a reminder that true service has no expiration date. The encounter left an indelible mark. Caden, once arrogant, now avoided Bobby's gaze, his smugness replaced by shame. The teller who had doubted Bobby later quit, unable to shake the guilt. Maya, however, felt pride. She'd recognized integrity when others hadn't, and the older bank employee who'd made the fateful call simply nodded to himself, knowing justice had been served without fanfare. Bobby's story spread quietly, through veteran circles, not as a tale of vengeance, but as proof that dignity outlasts disrespect. His challenge coin, once mocked, became a symbol of unshakable resolve, and though he never sought recognition, his presence that day reminded everyone that heroes don't always wear their medals, sometimes they just carry them in their pockets. The bank's plaque, now bearing Bobby's name, stood as a silent testament. No one spoke of the incident openly, but the lesson was clear. Respect isn't earned through titles alone, but through actions that echo beyond memory. Bobby's quiet strength had turned mockery into reverence, proving that some battles aren't fought with fists, but with patience and unyielding principle. In the weeks that followed, Summit Ridge National Bank saw subtle changes. Employees treated elderly veterans with newfound respect. Caden, though still employed, was reassigned, away from customer service. The security guard who'd hesitated to escort Bobby out later admitted he'd sensed something extraordinary about the old man. Even civilians who'd witnessed the event carried the story home, sharing it as a lesson in humility. Bobby himself returned to anonymity, his grandson's tuition secured. He never mentioned the bank incident, not even to family. To him, it was just another moment in a life of service. But for those who'd been there, it was a wake-up call, a reminder that valor doesn't always announce itself, and that the quietest people often hold the deepest stories. The general, too, reflected on the encounter. He'd known of Bobby's legacy, but hadn't realized how easily such a man could be overlooked. It reinforced his belief that true leaders don't seek glory. They simply do what's right, regardless of who's watching. That day, Bobby had taught them all that honor isn't about recognition. It's about integrity, even when no one else remembers. Maya Rodriguez, inspired by the event, began volunteering at a Veterans Outreach Center. She made sure no service member was ever dismissed as Bobby had been. The young teller who'd laughed later wrote Bobby an apology letter, though she never sent it. Some regrets, she realized, were meant to be carried as reminders. The bank's lobby, once a place of routine transactions, now held an unspoken reverence. The plaque with Bobby's name became a touchstone for reflection. Visitors sometimes paused, reading the inscription, wondering about the man behind it. Few knew the full story, but all sensed its weight. Bobby's challenge coin, once dismissed as a trinket, became legendary among local veterans. Replicas were minted in honor of his service, gifted to those who embodied quiet resilience. The original remained in Bobby's pocket, a silent witness to a lifetime of duty. Years later, when Bobby passed away, his funeral was attended by generals, fellow soldiers, and even a few bank employees. No speeches were made about the incident. It wasn't necessary. His legacy spoke for itself. The medal Caney had given him was displayed beside his flag-draped casket, its inscription glowing under the chapel lights. Service beyond record. The bank still stands, its plaque unchanged. New employees are told the story during training, not as a reprimand but as a lesson in humility. Bobby's name, now etched in brass, serves as a quiet guardian of respect. And though the world moves on, the memory of that Tuesday morning lingers, a testament to the power of dignity in the face of disregard. In veteran circles, the tale is told sparingly, always with reverence. It's not about shame or comeuppance, it's about the unbreakable spirit of those who serve without expectation. Bobby's story reminds them that while uniforms may fade, honor does not, and sometimes the quietest moments hold the loudest truths. Today, if you visit Summit Ridge National Bank, you'll see the plaque. You might notice how sunlight catches Bobby's name just so, casting a faint shadow. And if you listen closely, the old-timers might say the lobby still carries the echo of a salute, one that wasn't just for a soldier, but for the very idea of service itself, because what happened to Bobby Keene should never happen to anyone who's ever worn the uniform.